Now, Donald Trump's, or we call him President-elect Donald Trump's governing inner circle became clearer this week, with the president announcing some of his cabinet nominations.
Now, many of the picks will still need to go through an approval process requiring confirmation in the Senate. Joining us now is Molly Ball, senior political correspondent at the Wall Street Journal. Molly, great to have you on this morning.
Lovely to be here.
There's a lot to get through. There's been a lot of news this week. The latest nomination from President-elect Donald Trump is RFK Jr. as the Department of Health, to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, he's pledged to make America healthy again. How is he intending to do that?
A variety of ways. He has a variety of unorthodox views about the public health system, starting with his decades of advocacy against vaccines. He believes that the entire sequence of childhood vaccines is not safe and effective. It should be said that these claims are unscientific and false, but he has spent many years as an activist against vaccines, and this was sort of supercharged by the COVID pandemic, when many more Americans came to doubt vaccines. He also has views about food additives and processed foods and nutrition and so forth. So he is aiming to really take a sledgehammer to the public health system, turn it upside down with, as you say, the aim of what he calls making America healthy again.
Now, another big headline-making pick this week was Elon Musk, who's been put forward to lead Donald Trump's new Department of Government Efficiency. He'll be working alongside former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. What do we know about the approach that those two people will take to that role?
Well, this has been announced as an outside of government commission. And there have been many such commissions in the past, albeit without such colorful characters or such an interesting acronym. But because it is outside of the government, it is essentially a couple of well-known volunteers who will have the ability to make suggestions, but no power to actually enact any of them. They can simply make recommendations about government spending that they believe is wasteful and ought to be cut. So Musk has said a lot about this over the course of the campaign, his view that there's too much regulation and too much government spending and too many federal agencies. So he and Vivek Ramaswamy aim to create this department that will take a look at the whole gamut of the functions of the federal government and make recommendations about how it can be, in their view, more efficient.
Donald Trump has also nominated Congressman Matt Gaetz as the US Attorney General. What are his qualifications for that position?
His chief qualification appears to be that he is intensely loyal to Donald Trump and shares Donald Trump's belief that the existing Department of Justice has been weaponized against him in its various prosecutions of the former president, former and future president, and so on. So this is a pick that has really shocked Washington. Matt Gaetz is a broadly reviled figure among his fellow members of Congress, where he has undertaken various sort of rebellious antics and has been blamed for a lot of the chaos even within Republican circles. So it is certainly an unorthodox choice for the Attorney General, who is the leader of all federal law enforcement and prosecutions, and has caused quite an uproar, again, including among Republicans.
Also, Donald Trump has chosen Tulsi Gabbard, a former Democratic congresswoman, as Director of National Intelligence. Now, she's faced some criticism over some views that she has expressed that are closely aligned with Russia's views. What are some of those views that have raised concern?
That's right. She calls herself a peace activist, a peace candidate. She served several terms in Congress as a sort of left-wing Democrat, a supporter of the socialist Bernie Sanders before leaving the Democratic Party. But as you say, she has repeatedly expressed views supportive of Vladimir Putin's Russia. And for that reason, many in the intelligence community are fearful of what she might do in such a position and whether she could be trusted with the nation's secrets, much less to oversee the intelligence apparatus and what it shares with our allies.
Now, the nominee for Defence Secretary is Fox News host Pete Hegseth. What are his qualifications and what do we know about the approach he'll take to that role?
Well, he is a veteran. He served in the military for some time, but he does not have, again, the sort of traditional qualifications of running a bureaucracy or having really climbed the military ranks to a top administrative position in the way that, for example, the current Secretary of Defense has done. He has expressed a lot of views about what he views as the overly liberal influence on the military, his view that it has put too much emphasis on diversity efforts. He also was very active during Donald Trump's first administration, urging the president to pardon members of the military who had been accused and convicted of war crimes. So his view is that the military has gone too soft and that it needs to be returned to a much harder sort of war-fighting posture.
Now, Marco Rubio is Donald Trump's pick for the Secretary of State. He's sort of more along traditional Republican lines, but it is a key global position with some really big challenges ahead.
Absolutely. And while Republicans have, many Republicans have taken issue with some of the other nominees for important positions, many of them are reassured by the selection of Rubio, who's viewed as having quite a lot of experience and knowledge in the area of foreign policy, even if he hasn't led a vast bureaucracy like the State Department. But he's someone who has long been active on foreign policy issues in the United States Senate. Of course, he ran for president himself against Donald Trump in 2016 and clashed with him quite harshly, but they have since made amends. And Rubio has, interestingly, sort of changed his philosophy in light of Donald Trump's appeal to so many voters, becoming less of a traditional conservative internationalist and more of a populist on both domestic economic issues and on foreign policy, where Donald Trump's views have been called isolationist. Rubio, for example, was one of many Republican senators to vote against the most recent package of American aid to Ukraine.
Molly, what's the process now to officially appoint these people to these positions? Are there potential roadblocks that they could encounter?
Well, it depends on the position. For the ones who are members of the cabinet, such as Rubio or the Attorney General or the heads of existing cabinet departments, the Constitution provides that they have to go through the United States Senate, the upper house of Congress, where the Republicans will have the majority in the new year, and it takes a majority of senators to confirm each of these nominees. The Senate Republicans have just selected a new majority leader who has not necessarily been a Trump ally, who not a Trump antagonist either, but he's viewed as more of an institutionalist. Now, figures like Elon Musk, who are doing things outside of government, or figures like Trump's newly selected chief of staff, Susie Wiles, those are not cabinet positions. They don't have to go through the Senate and get confirmed. And there's an additional wrinkle here in that Trump is trying to go around the Senate confirmation process if it comes to that, if the senators aren't willing to confirm some of his more unorthodox nominees. He has already sought assurances from many Republicans in the Senate that they would be willing to allow the Senate to be recessed so that he could make temporary appointments. This is a constitutional provision that was really envisioned for emergencies and times when the Senate wasn't capable of convening in a timely manner, in the days when it could have taken days or weeks to get to the Capitol by horse. But Trump has some legal scholars around him who believe that this process could be utilized in this way if he needs to make an end run around the Senate, if in fact it's not willing to confirm the nominees that he wants.